Like, if this doesn't wake people up more than anything, I don't know what will. A preschool series discussing sex and sexuality. There's a video that was circulating yesterday online. I watched it, but I want to play it for y'all because this is kind of the backbone, and it just is everything that we are kind of talking about, and it's a perfect example of like what we don't like, what the representation that we don't need. This is it. And this is completely one of those situations where you are pushing this onto children, and it's not what needs to be happening. So here, I'll pull this up real quick. If you haven't seen this, so this is actually the Kickstarter. So this person is trying to get a, like, they have a Kickstarter now. They're trying to raise money so that they can bring back this channel that they used to do called Queer Kid Stuff. And just right off the bat, when I look at that, I say there's no such thing as a queer kid. Kids don't have sexualities until, they get into puberty. Their sexuality is not defined, nor should they. So there's really no such thing as a queer kid. But I don't understand, like, anybody who really wants to teach these, like, be talking to children online. It's predatory behavior. And so I don't really get this, but let's watch the video on the Kickstarter. So I didn't take the video off Twitter or anything like that. I went straight to the source, and here it is.
Hi friends, I'm Mixed Lens.
And I'm Teddy!
We're the original creators of Queer Kid Stuff, an LGBTQ plus web series for kids and families. You might recognize me from my TED Talk, from my books, or even from my work in mainstream preschool media. We started Queer Kid Stuff together in 2016, and we've been spreading queer joy ever since. But it's been a while since we put out any new episodes, and that's about to change.
Woohoo!
It's finally time to bring back Queer Kid Stuff. We're launching a Kickstarter campaign to reboot the web series so we can keep spreading queer joy and combat hate. We're going to bring Queer Kid Stuff to life like never before, with new music, animated segments, field trips to awesome places like your local LGBT center or even a gender-affirming doctor's office.
It's gonna be awesome!
I bet you're wondering why we want to bring back Queer Kid Stuff now and why it's so important. A lot has changed since we made our last video in 2019, both good and bad. And we want to meet the current moment by affirming LGBTQ plus kids and families, nurturing allies, helping people better understand trans and non-binary people, queer history, and we want to expand the series into conversations around how queer issues and kids come together across all social justice movements.
Whoa, that sounds so cool, Linz.
Teddy and I have changed too. I came out as trans and non-binary and got gender-affirming surgery, and I have a lot more experience under my belt as a creator and person making queer stuff for kids. We're crowdfunding because we want you to be a part of this journey with us. By backing our Kickstarter campaign, you'll get exclusive rewards like behind-the-scenes digital downloads, awesome merch like temporary Teddy tattoos, and stickers, and even a one-on-one hangout with Teddy and me.
It's gonna be so much fun!
So why are we so excited to crowdfund?
Excuse me?
Because we believe in the power of community. We've seen how much Queer Kid Stuff means to so many families, maybe yours included, and we want to make the Queer Kid Stuff we've always dreamed of. Together, we can spread queer joy and combat hate, one episode at a time. All you gotta do is back the Kickstarter.
Yeah. One-on-one hangout? Like, as if all of that wasn't, like, bad enough, like, talking about so now that you were non-binary, you came out as trans and non-binary, whatever that means. And then you talk about having surgery. You're talking about doing field trips to gender-affirming clinics for children, but then you want the one-on-one. Can somebody see how does this person not see how, like, creepy that is? How problematic that is? Like, look, like I said, how do you define a queer child? What is a LGBT child? Because they said that they use LGBT in there too, right? So what is an LGBT child? What is a gay child? Why are you sexualizing children? Because that's what you're doing. To know that you are sexually attracted to somebody is to know your sexuality. So to know that you are gay means that you know that you are a male attracted to males. But children should not be stuff. They shouldn't be thinking about this stuff. They don't know what their attractions are and their sexuality is. They don't need to know that stuff, and you are sexualizing those children. Now, my friend Ariel Scarcella has talked a little bit about it before too, like knowing like romantic attraction, but not sexuality. Like there's a difference. Like knowing growing up that you are romantically attracted to, a certain sex is different from being sexually attracted to a certain sex. And knowing that, you may be a little bit different, like when you to like girls or boys, depending on your sex, then it is a little bit different there. What I will say though about this person, when I watched this video, there is a part of me that feels it almost feels sad. And I say sad because I just have to kind of question the trauma that led to this point. Because there has to be some trauma that puts this person into a state of childhood to want to do stuff, present stuff to children, to literally use a teddy bear and talking with teddy bears and thinking it's cute and all this stuff. Look, there's multiple types of people out there, and it's either this person really is just a predator, and I think that I don't know, it could be. I'm not gonna say that they're not. I'm not gonna write that off. And they want to have close access to children. But then there's this part of me that thinks that that some sort of trauma happened in this person's youth, and their youth was stolen from them. Almost like a Peter Pan syndrome that you could see, because no other reason why I would think that you would want to be in this kind of children, making this content for children, other than basically those two things. I do want to talk about one thing. So raising queer kids and their allies, like how, like, again, kids don't know that they're queer. So how are you raising queer kids? I've not read the book, so I can't really analyze what's in this book, but I'm sure it's not great. But if you wanted to really know, and this is something that was pointed out to me yesterday, this is more about the ideology, and we'll talk about that in a second. But like we'll go even further into this when it comes to the queer, more about like leftist ideology and indoctrination into a leftist ideology. If you look, let me see if does my cursor show up here? Yeah, here it is. If you look at this book right to the left of the teddy bear, where my cursor is, that book says, "What is an abortion anyways?" I'm sure that was intentionally placed there because anybody who sets up a room like this and does videos like this generally intentionally creates the room that they want. They set up, they put the books that they want behind them for specific reasons. Again, this is not my entire book collection. These are the books that I present for specific. And yes, I have left-wing books. There's a queer theory book on the very left. There is Saul Alinsky. There's the Communist Manifesto, and then where we have End of Gender and stuff like that. These books are intentionally placed where they're at in my studio. This person didn't accidentally put what is an abortion anyways if they didn't want people to know that they were teaching children about abortion. Children. Again, this is kid stuff. This isn't even young teen or teen stuff. This is kid stuff. Children. And there's an abortion book right there. So yeah, LS420 Stoner says, is there any way we can distance ourselves from these creeps and try to show the normies that we just want to live free and not harm anyone? Well, that's what I'm trying to do here. I agree. Like, I've got it to the point where I'm like, I don't, it's not a community anymore. So this is kind of off topic here, but if you really realize, like, normal, and I've seen other people post this, but it's like normal gay, lesbian, trans people are not going to Pride. After 2015, when gay marriage was legalized, there was no reason for the LGBT people to fight. And so the normie LGBT people kind of just like left the fight, said, I don't need Pride anymore. Why would I go and do all this stuff? And so the queer activist came into the space, and now they are the ones that are creating the perception. Now we have to kind of fight for it, but there is no community. I mean, I've talked to Blair White about this. She's mentioned it before. There is no trans community. We're not an aligned community. There's like we have some of the deepest divides within our community. Yeah, I mean, so Cola Berry says saw you on Jubilee, and so that's the thing is, if you watch that episode, you can see how deep the divide is in our community, because you watch other episodes of that show and people are courteous. It's a good conversation between two different sides. We were probably one of the most divided and controversial episodes that they've had. And it's because we don't have a clear consensus, and our divide is just as big as anybody else. But kind of going back into this and talking about the ideology of this, like I said, so you get the abortion book, but then you scroll down, and I had to start reading some of this Kickstarter platform to see what this was really about. Apparently, again, this has an LGBTQ plus. This person has an LGBTQ plus affirming parenting book, which is the opposite of the book that I had. I mean, I want to say the opposite. Get that book instead. And they literally wrote the book on how to talk about queer stuff and social justice. So again, social justice warrior leftist ideology stuff, and they're looking to indoctrinate the children as much as possible, like into, again, it's not just into queer theory. It's all about the issue is never the issue. It's about the revolution, right? So that's what we're seeing here. That's what this person's doing. They are trying to just get into the children's head and indoctrinate them into leftist ideology. So it talks about right here, what is queer kid stuff, right? And they flat out say it. They say the quiet part out loud. It's Mr. Rogers' Neighborhood meets Queer Theory 101. Queer kid stuff is an award-winning preschool web series featuring whatever Lynn's and best stuffed friend Teddy. Together, they learn what it means to be their authentic selves and spread queer joy. It's a preschool series about sexuality. I just can't with this, y'all. I can't. A preschool series about sexuality. Oh, God. Where do we go from here? Where do we go from here? I don't know. Like, if this doesn't wake people up more than anything, I don't know what will. A preschool series discussing sex and sexuality. Because again, you can't really have sexuality without sex, right? Because it leads into attraction and who you're attracted to. And sex ed. This is why you get the left is pushing this, comprehensive sex education that goes all the way down to like 5 years old. And when they say they're going to go to gender affirming clinics, they're going to go on field trips to LGBTQ centers, whatever that means, and show this stuff to preschoolers. Please, somebody just make this make sense, because it doesn't. None of this makes sense to me right now. Like, who in their right mind would think this is okay? What type of parent thinks this is what they want their kids to watch? And what type of person, what type of adults wants to promote this to children like this? Gosh. Oh, actually, let's see. Let's see what it says. It says, maybe you're still wondering why. Why should we talk to kids about queer stuff and social justice? Is this going to answer my question? I don't know. I doubt it. But let's look. Research tells us that LGBTQ affirming spaces for young people literally save lives. No, it doesn't. No, it doesn't. Just general acceptance saves lives. Like, safe spaces don't. And if it's going to go into the whole, suicide stats and everything like that, then that's not the own you think it is. But again, you're talking to preschoolers. You're not talking to, your average teenager who's dealing with most of this stuff. But it says 1 in 5 Gen Z identify as LGBTQ. I wonder why that is, because you don't really have to have a gay sexuality to be LGBT or Q. Like, to Q is, you can be straight and be Q. You just have to be, I guess, different from the norm. You just self-ID into that position. So if you want to fit in, you just say you're queer. And of course 1 in 5 are going to identify that way. It's Gen Z. They are following in a social contagion, right? I would assume that would almost say that the social contagion is happening because the adults aren't coming out like that. Millennials are higher than previous generations, but it's still not like new adults are coming out as it's become more accepted. There is this, social contagion aspect happening on social media. That's why Gen Z wants to fit in with their peer group, and they're going to identify as such. Let's see. The Trevor Project. Yeah, the also great Trevor Project, right? Who has had spaces that were for 13 to 24 that had kill switches. So when a parent walked in the room, they could delete their entire browser history, so the parents couldn't figure out what they were looking at and who they were talking to or what they were talking about. Yeah. That's the Trevor Project. I used and just a few years ago, I thought the Trevor Project was actually doing good work with their suicide awareness stuff. But when all this stuff, when they came up with this chat room and stuff like that, yeah, no, never again. But again, it's not they're trying to say it's the bullying rate and everything like that, but that's not really it, right? Because LGBT acceptance is the highest it's ever been in our society. So it's not the bully rate of LGBT people. Maybe it's the fact that we are, introducing adult concepts to children at preschool age. That there's all this stuff, all this social justice warrior stuff that they feel like they have to burden and they have to learn about, and it scares them. And so they feel, possibly hopeless when you're burdening children with adult concepts. Yeah. Yeah. So that's what's going on there. And of course, she has all the standard people, the Huffington Post, the Them magazine, all those people that are so good about acceptance and pushing for this. So they're trying to bring this stuff back. All right. I mean, this is insane. And thankfully, what's crazy is that there's been only 7 people have supported this, but 7 people donated over $5,000, which that's fairly impressive for such a small group. There's probably it seems like there's 88 backers. Never mind. Still, 88 people thought that this was worth donating some sort of money to. Again, I look at this person, I just think there's got to be some trauma there. It needs, yeah. This just needs to. How about we don't? Like I said, go read that book, that one. Don't read this book. Well, I mean, go ahead and read this book. Actually, I would say do read this book, Rainbow Parenting. And the reason why I would say it is the same reason why I have the Communist Manifesto on my shelf, is because you need to know what they're putting out there. You need to know how they think, what they're teaching people, and so you can combat that. I think you have to read what they say and understand it. Pamela's book will teach you from a perspective of reality. Theirs is from a perspective of indoctrination.